Hello and welcome to this latest market alert. My name's David, the Chief Market Analyst here at XTB UK. Today I want to talk about some potentially major events that's happening in the next couple of days to keep an eye on. So if you look at the US 500 here, you can see we got big declines last week on the back of some poor US data, with the ISM in particular on Tuesday, the manufacturing reading disappointing. You can see we had a large drop from around 29.90 down into the 28.50s. Since then, we've had a bit of a bounce. The market's kind of consolidating, and now I think the attention will turn towards politics, geopolitics to be specific, as the US and China trade talks come back to the fore. A delegation from China has arrived in Washington. They're expected to set off high-level trade talks tomorrow, which is Thursday, the 10th of October, and the outcome of these could prove pivotal for the market going forward. If they can reach some kind of agreement and see a de-escalation in the tensions between the world's two largest economies, then we could get a strong push higher. If we do break above this cloud, then we could see another move towards this 29.40, possibly up to this recent high around 29.60 and maybe even up towards 29.91. However, for the time being, price is below the cloud, and whilst the lagging line is still within it, so it's a little bit indecisive, you could say that the short-term trend is possibly turning lower. We do see a drop below yesterday's low around 28.88, and that does pave the way for a retest of last week's low around 28.55. Now, we've had a couple of pieces of news out this morning which were positive on the trade front. Firstly, that China are possibly willing to do a partial deal, which would mean not relating to their intellectual property front. However, and there's also been positive news that China are willing to increase their agricultural purchases. So this is a soybean chart on 30 minutes. You can see China have said they'll increase their purchase from $20 billion to $30 billion. And we got quite a strong push higher on the back of that. We were trading around these levels this morning when the news broke, around 9.22. You can see we ran up as high as 9.31, but since then we have pulled back somewhat. So this is an important market to potentially keep an eye on, and some people believe soybeans is one of the best indicators or proxies for US-China trade tensions, seeing as US exports of soybean to China are one of the most contentious issues. Looking more broadly at the German DAX here, the D30 on X station, you can see we had those large declines last week, similar to what we saw in US indices, but since then we've consolidated somewhat. You can see the market today has pulled back into this region between the 8 and the 21 EMAs. So the 8 is the blue line here and the yellow is the 21. But do note that the 8 is below the 21, so this is indicative of a downtrend. The region from 12,160 to 12,220 is potentially key resistance. And as long as the price remains below there, then we could see another follow through to the downside. And it does look a little bit like a potential bear flag, as a sort of wedge has been forming after that sharp move lower. If we do break down to the low side beneath this, then you could look out for 11,815, which is the recent low, which also coincided with prior resistance. But if we do drop down below there, things could unwind pretty quickly and we could see a much larger move lower. Gold is also a market which is potentially sensitive to trade developments. You can see here we've really been in a falling channel for the past couple of weeks, with a series of lower highs and also lower lows. However, the prevailing uptrend probably does remain intact, especially if you look at this from the point of view of a Ichimoku cloud. You can see we still remain above there, and if we do get a break to the upside, possibly on the back of some adverse developments on the trade front, then we could see further gains up towards 1536 and 1557. If we do drop back down lower, then this region from around 1440, 1452, potentially key support, and that'll be an area to look for if price drops significantly. Whilst we're talking about politics, it's just worth having a quick word on Brexit. We got a strong move higher in the pound this morning when the EU came back with a kind of counter proposal to the latest Brexit negotiations, where they suggested that time limit on an Irish backstop could be possible. You can see we got a very sharp move higher. This is just a 5-minute chart, so we rallied some around 60 pips in 5 minutes. However, this was not long after rebuffed from the UK, and they said they wouldn't agree to this, as they have previously stated, and since then we've kind of traded sideways. Longer term, you can see the pound US dollar, I'll just clean up the chart a little bit, has dropped down to its lowest level, I think in 5 weeks yesterday, and we have some potential support around this 121.95, 122 handle sort of region. But if we do drop down below there, then we could get back down and move towards the 120 handle once more, and those lows we saw back at the start of September. Okay, thanks for listening. Best of luck if you're trading these markets in the coming days.